Welcome to How Women Inspire. I'm so excited for all of us to be together today and for you to get to meet my guest, who is just one of the women I admire the most, Michele Colucci. I met her when she really had the shingle out as a lawyer. She's a serial entrepreneur. But today, I am so happy that I get to partner with her in the whole venture capital ecosystem and really supporting women entrepreneurs. And if you want to meet somebody who is literally integrity for miles and the kind of person that you want to be around the cap table with, you want to partner with my friend Michele, who is the founder and managing partner of Digital DX Ventures. She has 5 patents in technology. She's established companies across legal, technology, retail, and entertainment sectors. And as a venture capitalist today, she's specializing in medical technology, which is hot and important for us, my friends. Michele is dedicated to influencing the field of healthcare by investing in companies that enhance diagnostic decisions for doctors through AI and big data applications. To me, having a woman leading when these technologies are being created is so critical. Anyone who's been concerned about the future of AI and if women are being counted, Michele's at the centerpiece. She served on the board of directors for many different public and private companies, including Global Indemnity Group, Nefrosant, Optina, Diagnostics, Now Diagnostics. Oh, so many. I'm so honored to be with you today, Michele. And if I ever need advice or mentorship or support, you're the first one I call. Thank you for coming.
You're amazing. Thank you so much, Julie, for the very generous introduction. And I've just been incredibly impressed with everything that you've created. And thank you for your support.
Thanks, Michele. All right. So before we get into sort of you're such a brainiac, but let's do some fun first. Can we talk about sort of like, is there a song that you call your theme song or that lifts you up on the days when you need a little boost?
Oh gosh, there are so many. I'm a big fan of music. So yeah, I have songs that I love just for the sheer melodies, and then there's others I like for the words. Some of the ones that you've chosen have been really fun. So I
Uh,
don't think
all
I could
right.
limit it to one because
All
I'm
right,
just a
good. So we've got a
fan.
Spotify playlist coming. All right.
Yeah,
Um,
that you I
uh,
consider
so
that.
so can you know what? You've done things in so many different industries. How did you decide to focus at this time on digital DX ventures and your focus that you have?
So I would answer that in a couple ways. I do look at the fact that I've worked cross verticals, and honestly, I think that gives one such a better perspective because when you've been in one area for your whole life, you start to think about things in a certain way, and you think about them as if they have to be that certain way. And when you come from different verticals, you question the underpinnings, the very underlying structure of why. Why do you have to think of them in that way? Is there a better way to think of them? I was a philosophy major in college and English and philosophy. And one of the interesting facts I found was some of the highest paid jobs are people who are in engineering or had a philosophy background because you're asking about a question and you're trying to solve a question, right? You're thinking about how to think about the problem instead of just thinking about the problem. So I think that actually enabled me to work and has enabled me to work across verticals because you're identifying a problem and you're looking at how to solve it and you're bringing in a bunch of diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, diversity, genders to really think about this problem from different aspects. So I'd say that's how I approached or why I've worked across verticals and gotten into this. The reason I've gotten into this vertical specifically is, I was very involved in AI technology in my last startup, and one of my investors was the most successful investor in this area. And I had sent him over the years while I was doing my startup a lot of companies, that one of which was one of his most successful investments. And so I understood what he was doing by taking these little subjective and objective data sets and interplaying and finding out what's the issue and what to do about it based on this personal specific situation. We did that in legal tech. In med tech, it's no different, right? What's wrong with you and what to do about it. Because at the end of the day, nobody should go into a doctor and come out not knowing what's wrong with them with all of the information we have. But doctors, they used to not have enough information. Now they have too much. So it's
Yeah.
the perfect solution for using AI and data to
Yeah, it is.
us.
So interesting. I just saw a report just this morning that said that radiologists that use AI, some of them it makes them better, and some of them it actually doesn't. Because it seems to me like maybe they're kind of like groupthink. They're maybe over relying on AI. What do you think are some of the opportunities, but also the risks for us in healthcare?
Well, one of the things we do when we look over these companies is we really want to understand what is the size of the data that they're looking at?
Mm.
How likely is it for this sample size of two or 300 patient results to scale to
Uh,
20 or 30,000?
yeah.
That's one of the very, key metrics we look at when we're looking at a company. Will it be successful at that next level? And I think sometimes these solutions, people say, oh, it's AI, it's AI. First of all, 99% of it is not AI. It's like machine learning, it's
Got
pattern
it.
matching, it's,
Yeah.
but being able to scale is really hard, right?
Yeah.
You have to have enough data to scale these solutions, and you also have to have adequate, well-tested methodologies for getting that to that 95, 99%, whatever it is. So I think the reason why some of this stuff fails is people are so eager to implement it that they don't do their homework when it comes to how good really is it? How much have they dug in to what they're doing? Are they really doing AI? Is it something game changing or is it really not?
Yeah. So, when I think about you as the leader, I also think about you with your depth of operating experience yourself and having run so many things. Is that part of your secret sauce that differentiates you from other venture funds, perhaps?
Actually, I think you picked up on something actually really good. We like to, all of us are sort of serial entrepreneurs because really when push comes to shove, and we've seen in this market how challenging it can be for these companies to stay funded. You have to be able to get in there and do it and help the companies do it and be an extension of that team. You have to be active. You have to be vigilant. You have to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do also, because it's a very complex area. It's not an area that's most people can understand. So we have to be the ones to make sure that they're doing it right and they're counting on us to do it right.
Yeah.
So having like my partner David, who is chief scientist architect at NVIDIA, he built all the technology underlying, generative AI. I mean, you can tell him, he can look within, 20 minutes. Is it real? Is it
Yeah.
not? My partner Anna, my partner, they all have their expertise in genetics and epigenetics and biology, technology, chemistry, etc. Because I couldn't do this myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You need multiple people with 40-year careers. We have an entrepreneur residence program, which has the former chief scientist at Myriad, the former chief medical officer at Siemens. I mean, you have to build such a depth of understanding.
Yes.
And the other key is you want to know if your team can take this company from point A to point B, because a lot of these companies don't have the capacity or the knowledge or the ability to do it themselves. So can we
Yeah.
get in at a price which is attractive for us? And can we, through our collective resources, increase the value of that company for
Yeah.
that company and for our investors? And
Yeah.
that's a critical piece.
Yeah, it sure is. And it is a big differentiator for you. When you think about your impact on healthcare overall, can you see that yet? Or especially if you think about diagnostics, like, how are you impacting the whole space?
Yeah, so our goal is to collectively impact 2 billion lives, right? So
Wow.
we're working on that.
Nice.
I do see our companies are reaching. We have a company that has a small over the counter plastic cartridge for a blood prick that will tell you if you're pregnant 48 hours after implantation. Why is that important? That's important because if you go in a hospital and they get medication or whatever and you're pregnant, that can kill the fetus and also cause litigation for the hospital, and it's not good for anyone. So having those kinds of tools are critical, being able to tell you if there's an infectious disease, right? We have a company that actually has a whole global pandemic dashboard that's tracking pathogens all over the world to understand what's coming up. And they have a test they distributed, and they had initial contact when we first invested them to do all of the infectious disease testing for Rockefeller. I mean, it was pretty,
Wow.
impacting a lot of people every day, going to work, trying to check if their bodies were carrying infection, and if they were, would they be infecting other people? I mean, those are very impactful, solutions. Some are still in the development stage. We have a company that identified blood and tissue transcripts in saliva, meaning in saliva, they could find what you found in blood and tissue with a proof of concept in breast cancer. So a
Wow.
saliva test for breast cancer,
Yeah.
that's still a few years away from actually entering the market with studies. So some of this is early. It might not be impacting yet, but when it does, the number of people that can spit in a test tube and send it in compared to being able to have access to afford a mammogram, which isn't even that accurate to begin with, especially with
Yeah.
dense breast. That's game changing. So we're
Yeah.
trying to invest in this game changing diagnostics, right? That
Yeah.
are going to make women's lives better and everybody's
Yeah.
lives better,
Yeah.
primarily women, because we need, we make 80% of healthcare decisions. And but if a parent or a child or a spouse gets sick, we stop everything to help them. So we need solutions that are going to help us help our families.
Right.
And frankly, with over 90% of the venture funds being male run, they don't understand the problem as we
True.
do. So
Yeah.
trying to bring that visibility into the marketplace.
I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making a commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step? I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. If I think about the future of AI in healthcare, sort of what do you think that we should be ready for? How's it going to transform? I mean, just that alone was an amazing example.
Yeah. Well, if you look at there was a study done by Accenture. They said over the next 5 to 10 years, the AI and healthcare market is supposed to be $120 billion market, with
Oh,
growing at a
wow.
37.1% CAGR. So when you think about that, that's a huge impact. So how is it going to impact? AI and data impacts healthcare in several ways in our vertical. It can be through greater data aggregation. So
Yeah.
if you are wearing wearables, if you're this, that, getting all that data, collecting all that real-time monitoring, all that constant data, that's really important. You could, instead of saying, let's do a test to see how you're doing it at one point in time, you can
Yeah.
be collecting continuously, because sometimes the markers you're looking for spike up, spike down, so to be
Sure.
able to get a full picture. So data aggregation. Another way is signal amplification. So if you
Yeah.
say, I want to find out if there's this cell-free DNA in your blood, well, just like small signal, you might be able to hear it. But if you have like a random forest calculation where you can actually digitize a signal and amplify it, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
So we have a company that has a 1 second eye scan. It can identify Alzheimer's way before there's memory loss, before there's brain damage. And they did take a 1 second, actually three, I think 2 to 3 gigs of data from the
Yeah.
fundus, so 1 second, gets that data and digitizes the signals for beta amyloid and tau, which is the buildup in the
Yeah.
brain to
Yeah.
brain damage. So identifying and benchmarking where you are in that process, as well as they did a test on AMD that they came up with phenomenal results. They can
Right.
identify the drusen and everything in the eye. So using the AI, like they happen to be using like random forest calculations and different kind of AI modeling to amplify and digitize a signal, and then be able to point and say, this is the existence of this shows us XYZ. That's another way. And then the third way is really to take all these different data sets. So you take your electronic health record, right? You
Yeah.
take your history, right? You take your body mass index, you take where your zip code, where you live, you take all the data about you and personalize it. And so the way we're doing is we're taking all those data sets, we're crossing them and using AI and machine learning to pull out correlations. What's related to what and why? Why is it in these kind of patients we see so much prevalence of this particular protein? Or
Yeah.
when disease, we call it signatures of disease, right? Oh, there's these clustering here, or there's these 3 things that are in higher concentration when in these patients than it is in these. So being able to create those connections, and then you can, whether they're causal or otherwise, it doesn't mean that one causes the other, but it could be an existence of this that is a signature that tells us, okay, this person is developing this kind of cancer, and get it early, like get it in stage 0, forget
Oh
about
my
stage 1.
God. And less cost, less time. So there's not the barrier that we all know where you're like, I don't have time to go spend 2 days prepping and following up with a colon screening or
Absolutely.
whatever. Like there's so many things that, so often in healthcare, I'm just like, is this really where we're at?
It's
There has to
amazing.
be something better.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And people will
Yeah.
take, like, I have an 88-year-old mother, and it's taken us years. We still can't figure out why she's getting dizzy. We
Yeah.
still can't figure out why her blood pressure will go up and down. It's insane. With
Yeah.
all the information we have,
Exactly.
how is it we can't go into a doctor's office and come out knowing what's
Yeah.
wrong with us? It makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank goodness you're at the helm. So You are obviously a woman leading in venture. There were only 12 women run venture firms in 2010. Why do you think it's so important that women are leading in venture? And why do you think women need to invest in venture?
So, one of the reasons why it's really critical for women to be in venture and run funds is an example ad from my mentor, who I just have so much respect for. He's retired, but I got to tell you, I brought a company to him in mental health. And I'm like, this is really important. He's like, my kids, they all went to Stanford. They started a company in the dorm room. They never had any problems. I just don't think mental health is a big issue. Okay, so if you are a woman and I'm a single parent of 4 kids, I can tell you mental health's an issue,
Yeah, they
right? So
call you, not their dad. I mean, I'm gonna tell you my son,
that's
my
it.
daughter, right?
So women
Yeah.
understand the problem and a lot of problems that men don't understand. And having men who are investors say, well, let me ask my wife, it's really not the answer you want to get, because that's probably not the person who's going to be able to. I mean, might they have had the problem? Yes, maybe, maybe not. But it's kind of an N of one, right? Small sample set, number one. Number two, not the investor. The investor has to think of a lot of things when you think about if it's an issue, right? It's not just, is this a problem for you, but so
Yeah.
many other questions. How is it scalable? How many people have this problem? Where does it come from?
Yeah.
What's causing it? So having women invest is critical because we solve for the problem that women have. In addition, as everybody knows, that a lot of these cohorts, these
Yeah.
samples, are being run on the white European male. Like, it doesn't always work. Women have reproductive systems, right?
Yes.
Minorities, they have different reactions to different kinds of things. So it's important that we have an all-comers population. And I think women are more
Yeah.
sensitive to that and care about more. The reason women need to invest in funds like ours and other women run funds is so that they can have solutions that are great for their families, themselves, etc. B, show and empower their own daughters or their colleagues that women can be investors, right? I noticed when I got into this area, there was an entire echelon here that I didn't know existed. That was where you really create wealth. You don't
Yeah.
just inherit it or marry into it, you actually create it. And if you look around Silicon Valley, where's all the money made? It's made
Yeah.
by venture fund investors or the C-suite of venture backed companies primarily.
Yes.
So all these large, so why are we not part of that? Why shouldn't we be part of that? And we
Yeah.
should. But so women have a different risk tolerance. So what I really try to do is get involved in even a small way to start, if that makes you feel comfortable. Look at a fund that has diversity. Look at
Mm.
a fund that has risk management,
Mhm.
right? Look at a fund that invests in multiple companies, that has money to invest more, to think of funds that are set up like we are, like a big fund, even though we're small, so we can grow. Funds that will be there for generations, and funds that really have a number of experts that know that area really well. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, venture has a risk. There's
Yes.
a risk to investing in venture, and you have to understand that. But the risk is mitigated by the amount of knowledge across the team. So that's the whole reason why you give people your money who have knowledge, because they know what they're investing in, and the chances are better than investing in people,
Yeah.
just investing yourself, right? This is an area that's highly complex.
Right.
People say, oh, I'd like to invest in startups. Well, I worry about that because I don't want them to lose
Yeah.
their money
Yeah.
directly. Because some areas you can do that. You can do that in a social network. You can do that in places where things you use. Medical diagnostics is really hard unless you're in the vertical to understand it.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of other reasons, like, you don't have the
Yes,
leverage to negotiate in the same
that's
way.
right.
It's just a you don't
Exactly.
a whole bunch of pieces that Michelle, thank you so much. I feel like we just had a tour around excellence and future of healthcare. This has been super fun. How can people find you?
Thank you so much. You can email myself or Melody at Digital DX, Michelle or Melody. You can go to your platform, and we are one of the companies that you can invest through How Women Invest. And we would be very excited to have any conversations, obviously, with anyone who has an interest in this area.
Thank you so much for being with me today, Michelle. I feel like I want to go get a PhD, at least listen to some podcasts on AI and healthcare at the very least. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate your time.